The M word, meditation. Something that personally I think everyone should be doing. Um, I think it's often overcomplicated and stigmatized in some scenarios, but it is hands down one of the highest ROI things you can be doing for yourself and for your family. Personally, I've been practicing various forms of meditation for going on 2 decades now. It's something that interests me very early on in life, but coming up just as the internet was becoming a household thing, I had to switch between our school's library and what few answers Ask Jeeves or Alta Vista could provide. When I was searching for meditation, and in the beginning, the results I got were pretty mixed because either people didn't want to talk about it in public too much, really wasn't that ubiquitous of a thing yet. But luckily, people are coming out more and more talking about it, and I think that is a net positive for humanity as a whole. And I really think that people should be considering it and or doing it much more often. But like I said, it can be overcomplicated, and in its simplest form, it's could be sitting on your porch just silently looking out and people watching, which I'm pretty sure one of the huge magnates like Ford or Carnegie or someone considered that like their thinking time. But it's like when it comes down to it, that's just another form of meditation. I've kind of streamlined my meditation practice. I did transcendental meditation for a long time, and a mantra-based meditation is still one of my favorites. But more and more, I've been leaning towards pretty much like the practice of coherent breathing, and just a mindfulness meditation or a noticing meditation. I also do one of Joe Dispenza's meditations pretty much every day. And I've been kind of on an experiment to do that for an entire year straight and kind of journaling my results with that. But coherent breathing is something I talk about all the time. It probably makes my wife and family members, pretty sick of hearing it. But I cannot get over how effective it has been for me. And that's, the benefits range everywhere from helping me manage my anxiety and stress and overwhelm levels better to having better thinking, and just having a better life. Coherent breathing is pretty easy. It's just equal inhales and exhales, in through your nose, out through your nose. And once you get the timing, like the pattern down correctly, then you can start focusing on trying to make the transition between the inhales and the exhales as seamless as possible, so one kind of melts into the other. And that seems to be, when I can nail that, that seems to be a huge game changer in terms of just a shift in my nervous system and mindset. But 3 years ago, I was pretty much crippled with anxiety without knowing it was anxiety. I thought I was dying. Everyone's dying, but I thought I was dying a lot quicker than I was hoping I was. And I tried Wim Hof breathing and that kind of thing, and I experienced some benefits from Wim Hof to begin with, and I think it was mostly just because it was a state change. It was better than being depressed and sleeping and just kind of being a slug on the couch. But very quickly I realized that my nervous system was not ready to handle that like violent of a breath, like that much upregulation. Not to say that Wim Hof isn't, and Tumo in general isn't like a great breathing practice, because it absolutely is, but it was making my panic attacks worse and worse. And like I said, at the time, I didn't know they were panic attacks. I just thought they were like, it was the end for me. Like it, just this dread and dizziness and blurred vision and all the symptoms. But the more I did Wim Hof, the more these weird symptoms showed up. And it took me way too long to correlate that they were related, because I just thought, I should just do more Wim Hof because I'm just not trying hard enough, which I think is just a classic Midwesterners take on everything. Like if something's not working, just try it even harder and do more. But turns out that what I really needed was to do less, or at least do better. And for me, luckily, I stumbled upon James Nestor's book Breathe, and he went into coherent breathing, which I had never heard about before, which is one of the reasons I like talking about it so much, because it is so simplistic and so seemingly mundane, that it's kind of not exciting. So people don't talk about it. But it was one of the biggest game changers for me when I tried it out and started practicing it because of James Nestor's book. So everyone that that I meet that has going through the same issues, I'm like, just try coherent breathing, which again is just breathing in at a cadence of somewhere between 5 and 6 seconds, and breathing out at a cadence of somewhere between 5 or 6 seconds, and doing that both in through your nose, out through your nose. And for me, within, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, I'll feel a complete shift in my physiology and my biology. I feel so much more grounded, present. The panic goes away, and it's just this tangible shift into a parasympathetic nervous system response, which is, the classic rest and digest. And I guess the science, or to like the why to how it works, is essentially you're syncing up your breath with your heartbeat somehow. Don't ask me, but that's what scientists and Google say. But you're also giving, that regular breathing pattern is not something you would be doing if you were outrunning a lion, or pushing a boulder off of someone. Something that like your Paleolithic nervous system would be taking as like super stressful. Because in those scenarios, or if you're like in an all-out sprint away from something, you're breathing through your mouth, you're breathing heavily, you're over oxygenating, and you're breathing at a rate that is just, however you can get more oxygen, and there's no pattern to it. Whereas coherent breathing is the exact opposite, where you have the pattern, it's calm, it's slow, it's in through your nose, out through your nose. And I think it just shows your nervous system that you are in the least stressful scenario that you could possibly be in at that time that isn't sleep. And I think it's hugely beneficial. And the fact that just 3 to 5 minutes of it can have a massive response. Like I've used it to halt panic attacks, or if I can feel the panicky sensations coming up, like, during a stressful Zoom meeting, or like a chance encounter on the street, just like regular things when I could feel like my nervous system starting to panic. If I can focus and count on, 5 or 6 seconds in, 5 or 6 seconds out, within a matter of 2 to 4 minutes, I can feel everything shift, and I can kind of come back to like presence, and actually respond to those situations, in the way that I would like to, or at least a better way than my body feeling like I want to shut down and run away. So like I said, it's an easy practice to get started. You can either count in your head and just approximate, second intervals, or you could download a metronome app, which is what I did for a long time. You just set it at 60 beats per minute, which means you'll have a beat of the metronome every second, and then you just count in your head. But what I really like to do now is this free app called, I think it's My Pocket Breath Coach. He has a YouTube channel, the person that runs it, and the app has paid features, but the free timers work awesomely. It's a visual cue and a sound cue. I like the rushing water one, so it's like a pattern of rushing water on the inhale, and then a different, like a running, like babbling brook on the exhale. And I don't really use the visual cue because I like to keep my eyes closed, but that's my favorite way to practice. And like I said, 5 minutes a day is beneficial. 50 minutes a day is even better. I do this at regular intervals throughout the day, to kind of reset and come back to center. And so far I haven't met an amount of time, like a point of diminishing returns. The more I do it, the better I feel. And that's just my personal experience. And if you want to try it out, that's an easy way to start meditation in its simplest form. Uh, Go ahead, try it out. I'll put a link to that app in the description of this video. Before I go, I just want to let you know that I am starting a WOP community. I don't know if that's how you refer to it, but I just wrote an ebook on the 5 like gentle breathwork practices that helped me, I think, the most. That provided like 80% of my healing to back to this point of being able to get my anxiety and stress and overwhelm under control. And it's kind of counterintuitive. At least they're practices that people don't really talk about because they're not super cool, but they're all, I should say, they're not super exciting. They're all super cool because they work, and that's the only metric that I use to judge them by. But they all were super effective for me. I use them daily still. They are cheap. They're fast. And the ebook even goes in to how to mix and match them to kind of create your own style of breath work for different situations. So I just spent the last few weeks putting that together. I'm actually super proud of it. And I'll be putting that on the WAP here pretty soon, in the next probably week, maybe quicker than that, if depending on how busy this weekend is. But yeah, I'll put a link to that community in the description as well. Have a good one.